Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Oh my god, I miss shooting a video for my YouTube. I'm doing this after very long. I feel so out of touch. I don't know what's happening, but I have shot videos for my Instagram, but shooting something for YouTube feels totally different. I think more often than not, Instagram videos are perfectly curated, whereas on YouTube, you're supposed to just yap. But that's not the point of the video. Watch this video if you are someone who kind of is sometimes unsure how to deal with feedback, like me. But let me explain myself what I mean by that. You know how we always say that feedback is so important, like we have all heard it, and it is because that it helps us grow and makes us into a better person or makes us better at something. And honestly, I've always appreciated feedback, and at least I thought I did, because recently I had this one moment where I had a different kind of, I don't know, an understanding, a relationship, or a thought around feedback, and that's what I'm going to share. This video is not going to be about me telling you something, it's just me sharing a thought and a moment that I had related to getting feedback. And I don't know if you will relate to this, but probably it's something that might have come to your mind, but it might have just taken a U-turn and gone back, and you never really sat with that thought or really thought about why you might not be comfortable with certain types of feedback, or when. So basically I'm just going to share that what I felt, that why it might be kind of a little bit uncomfortable to deal with feedback for some people. And this is not a solution video, but this is just the yapping story time video. Next time when you face such a situation, you have to probably accept that feeling and move on with the feedback. So, to give you a little bit of context of the story, is that I recently started to work in this new place, new environment, new people, new structure. So, basically, everything is new, like the energy is also new. And while I was working there, of course, I picked up so many things in the past 1 month. But by the end of the 1 month, and also actually the days leading up to the 1 month, I was feeling something, like it was a very subtle feeling, but I felt like there was a misalignment between who I felt that I am and how I was being perceived. Now, it's not something very dramatic or anything, it's chill, it's all right to be that way, but it was very subtle a feeling. And I felt like this shouldn't be the case because it's not aligning with who I am and who I consider myself to be put out, for other people to perceive. So now, when that 1 month ended, I got a feedback from the person I'm working with, and it was a good feedback. So it was nothing really bad, and it actually is helpful to me because that will help me kind of align the way I work according to what's required, in a more accurate way, and also it will help me improve from where I am right now. So I definitely liked it, everything was nice, but there was a second kind of a thought beyond the feedback interaction, beyond the interaction that we were having. And that thought was that when you are a person who has been generally liked, or people generally like you, or people appreciate what you do, it gets tougher to accept feedback. Okay, now I think this might be common knowledge, but I still feel that it's not talked about enough, because a person who is used to being liked, all of a sudden, if they kind of come into this crossroads of where you have to accept a feedback, but then you also have that feeling of what to do with that feedback, because you're not used to getting like criticism, even though it's constructive, and it's constructive and you like it and you want that feedback. It's not like you're oblivious to everything around you and you just are narcissist as a person. It's not like that. But you want that feedback, it helps you, but then there's also a feeling that doesn't sit right with you, because, and that's voila, that's when you realize that when you're so used to like not getting like criticism, The good criticism, even though you want it, when you get it, it feels uncomfortable. I also want to talk about something that's not often spoken about is why feedback can feel a lot harder for people who are generally well liked. So, like the people who try to keep everything positive, make sure everyone's comfortable, and try to do their best in everything and try to have everything basically under their control so that everything runs smoothly. So when feedback comes in, even though it's a constructive and helpful one, and they want that feedback, it's like a little bit of friction because, and I speak from my own experience, is that what I usually, whenever I get feedbacks are generally seen as like in a negative light, like you need to be changing something because it's wrong. It kind of throws off the emotional balance that they are always used to, not because they don't want to grow or don't want to learn and accept their mistakes, but because they are so used to harmony that it feels like some sort of like disruption. And that's why it becomes harder for those people. And here's the thing, when someone like that responds with questions or wants to talk it out, they might be perceived as someone who is shut off to the idea of feedback because they are apparently supposed to just listen because I mean, I believe that feedback should be like both ways, but then they start to come off as a bit defensive, but it's just them trying to turn the feedback into a conversation rather than a correction from only one end. So from the outside, it can be misunderstood and it can look like they're resisting or not taking the feedback seriously. When in reality, they want to understand it better and in a more deeper collaborative way and not just silently nod and move on with the feedback and apply it. So for people who are generally used to being liked, they kind of fear that feedback might change how they are seen or perceived by the other people. So maybe like they think that they won't remain the good one anymore, and that can feel like too heavy for them to absorb as well. And even when the feedback is fair and they know that the feedback is fair, they need it to grow. But I think we need to remember here that sometimes, like, the most open hearted people take like a little longer to sit with this discomfort, and it's not because that they are defensive or they don't want to grow. It's a possibility that they could be a lot self-aware, they know what they need, they know that they need the feedback, but it's because probably they care a lot about how things are feeling on the way and how everything is. I mean, that's a pro and a con. I would say in this case, it's a con for themselves because they are the ones who are getting misunderstood. But I think I'm just here speaking for those people. I'm just trying to put out the kind of thoughts they have, and it's not that we are just. I don't want to listen to you. I am fine by myself. It's not like that. It's just that it's doing some changes in their brain chemistry, and that's why those so many questions, so many like trying to talk might come off as defensive, but no, really, we are not trying to do it. Mom, please understand this. This is for you. So, yeah, I guess that's all that I had to talk about. But as long as we are all clear on the fact that feedback is not something that is supposed to change your identity or how you or anybody else views your identity as, or even like it's not something that should be also protecting your identity. I think the topic of protecting or even changing identity should not even come under the topic of feedback, as long as we understand that feedback is all about something that will help us expand on our identity because we will include perceptions and ideas from other people. I think we are all good. And feedback, of course, is something that helps us improve and understand ourselves a little better and more honestly. And I think sometimes it just gives meaning to what we might be already thinking in our mind. But when somebody speaks it out for ourselves, it just makes everything easier and easy to understand. Yeah, that's all. just trying to reduce the misunderstanding, I guess. And while we are on this topic of feedback, so when I got the feedback from my manager in my first month of work, I also started to think of ways I could come off as somebody who can work on those feedback, how to implement those changes, because I think that is the main goal, right? To be a different self from where you were, and after you got the feedback, where you want to go or where you should be headed towards. So I also thought of few things that I do naturally even without thinking, like how you process it or what you do with the feedback after you receive it. What is it that changes in you, after getting that feedback, that I would like to share? And that is for another time. The next video is on that. So stay tuned and tell me also how you guys think about feedback or what is your perception on it. Let's all help each other and grow together. And with that, over. Bye bye. See you in the next one. And give me some feedback on this video.